Now, the best show I've seen in a long time is called The Boys on Amazon Prime. It's kind of a dark satire on the superhero genre. It's a black comedy, and it's thoroughly excellent. Honestly, it's like the best show I've seen in probably 5 years. If you like Deadpool, if you like Deadpool 2, this show is right up your alley. You will love this. It's really original. It's a satire on sort of on the superhero genre, but it's more satire on American culture, and it's thoroughly excellent. Just in brief, I have pretty much every single service known to man, as far as I know. I mean, I have Amazon Prime, I have Hulu, I have Netflix, I have HBO, and Showtime. We even have Starz, and I've never bothered to. Neither my wife or myself has ever bothered to activate the app, because with the other services, I have honestly more movies, more TV shows than I ever have time to watch. I got a whole bunch of stuff queued up on my back catalog, waiting for an opportunity to check it out. And one of the things that I've done, or one of the things I've noticed, now some people may disagree with this, but I tend to think that Amazon Prime and Hulu in particular are actually better than Netflix. Yeah, a little bit. Netflix is good. Netflix has some good original programming. The real problem with Netflix is they're a little bit lazy in their selection. So when you go to you click on a genre like action adventure in Netflix, action films, there'll be the first 5 or 6 ones will be something really high quality, like Raiders of the Lost Ark was on there. I don't remember if it's still there. The Dark Knight. There'll be 5 to 10 really high quality selections right at the beginning. But usually you've seen those movies. There might be 1 or 2 you haven't seen. Once you get past the main selection, there's usually a lot of just total crap, total junk. Like something that nobody would ever watch and nobody cares about, and you click on it, you watch it for like 15 minutes, you're like, oh my God, this is absolute garbage. That doesn't really happen on Amazon Prime and Hulu. The people in charge of programming, particularly on Amazon Prime, once you get past the main selections, there's some really, really high quality movies that people who know movies are actually picking. For example, what just came to Netflix, a movie called 3 Days of the Condor. A lot of you might not have heard of this movie. It's a classic. It's honest to God, it's a classic movie with Robert Redford from the 70s. There was a whole genre of paranoid, the government is out to get me films, kind of like the Bourne series. It's not quite as action adventure it's not quite as high octane action thrills as the Bourne series. It's more a suspense, but the premise is very similar. The government's out to get the guy, and he's got 3 days. It's a really first-rate thriller suspense movie. It's a classic. And the only people who would know it's a classic are people who are really into movies. It's not exactly like a movie that everybody knows is great. It just popped onto Amazon Prime. Another movie that just appeared on Amazon Prime, Suicide, Divergent Suicides. Again, not quite the most well-known movie. It was a pretty interesting film by Sofia Coppola. It's about these girls in the Midwest. It's arty, it's weird, but it's interesting and worth watching. Now, those are not random selections. That's why I said somebody's paying attention. Somebody who is picking, who is responsible for making their movie catalog actually knows films, or is actually a fan of movies, because those aren't random films. Those aren't people that just anybody would pick. On Netflix, it's the opposite. Once you get past the well-known products, like your Raiders of the Lost Ark, you start going 30 deep into the Netflix action catalog, and it's just total garbage. It's just stuff that nobody cares about, and nobody would ever bother wanting to see. And they're just putting it on there to fill out so they have 100 selections as opposed to 30. But I find that's not true on Amazon. And Hulu, the other has some interesting, there are some really weird, really well done foreign films that I've never heard of, but somebody was thinking about when they chose them. This one I watched was an end of the world suspense movie that takes place in Paris, where there's this cloud of poison gas covers the whole city of Paris, and this man and his wife are trapped on the top floor of an apartment I was like, yeah, that sounds really weird and interesting. And I clicked on it. It was a really good movie. There's another one that if you look in the foreign section of Hulu, I promise there are these really, really interesting good movies. There was this one movie about this from Denmark about this this police dispatcher, and the whole thing takes place on the phone of a police dispatcher. He's like an alcoholic, and you find out he used to be walking the beat, and now he's been assigned to dispatch because of some mysterious thing that happened on the job. And some woman calls up, and he thinks she's been kidnapped, and she's talking to him on the phone the whole time. And it's this really interesting, really intricate, well-done thriller suspense movie from Denmark. So that's the type of stuff that you see on Hulu and Amazon Prime. It looks to me like the people in charge of programming on those particular services, they're people who really like movies and are really paying attention, because there's a lot of these really weird, unusual finds that, are great, like a lot of them. I don't find that as much on Netflix. Once you get past like the interesting stuff, the rest of it's just total garbage. But anyways, back to The Boys, Amazon Prime. So honestly, if you are interested in it all, word to the wise, do not under any circumstances watch any of the trailers, because they will give away the first episode. There are two things that happened in the first episode where my head just exploded. They totally blew my mind. I had no idea they were coming, and I couldn't even believe it. I was floored watching it. They're kind of funny, kind of really shocking. But if you watch the trailer, you're going to find out about both of them. I hate when people do that in trailers. And nowadays, that happens all the time. In trailers and in reviews, there's always spoilers, and they're usually important ones. So if I really want to see something, I always avoid the reviews, and I always avoid the trailers. But in terms of the movie itself, the premise is really, really fun, and they milk it for everything it's worth. The premise is, what if superheroes... It's a group of superheroes known as the Seven. And the underlying premise is, what if superheroes, as opposed to being really noble, self-sacrificing people like Captain America, were amoral douchebags like Hollywood celebrities? And that's the premise that's the original premise that sets the whole thing in motion. And it's a brilliant premise. In other words, like, the guy who's kind of Captain America, there's collateral damage in some of the things that he's doing. He doesn't necessarily care. Another guy may have accidentally killed somebody, and he kind of only cares about it as a PR thing. Like, I gotta deal with somebody I accidentally killed. Like, they're total immoral and they're total douchebags, but they have superhero powers. And that's the premise that sets the whole thing in motion. And it's brilliant. It's brilliantly executed. It's absolutely awesome. In terms of, it's probably the best show I've seen in the last 5 years. In terms of anything new, easily the best show. What I usually do is at the end of the year, at around Christmas time, they do this thing, top 10 shows of the year. You'll see in like Rolling Stone, these are the 10 best TV shows of the year. There's usually YouTube videos on them. And I always go through a bunch and try to get a handle on what were the high quality shows. Now this past year, there weren't really that many. There was a show Forever. I checked it out, watched about 2 episodes. There was a show with Julia Roberts where she's working with traumatized Marines or traumatized Army people. It was okay. Watched about 3 episodes, and then just wasn't interesting enough to keep going with. The one exception, there was a show called Killing Eve. I believe it came from England. It's excellent. First-rate thriller, dark comedy. Really, really, really fun. Sandra Cho stars in it, and she's trying to hunt down this kind of really hot, really attractive assassin, and there's like this underlying lesbian tension between her and the assassin, and it's a brilliant dark comedy. That was the one exception. That was the one thing that was on a lot of top 10 lists of the best show of the year that I thought was really high quality. I streamed the whole thing in a couple of days. Other than that, TV shows are really, really, I so often nowadays do I start a TV show and I'll watch like 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, and given the fact that I've got so much other stuff on the back burner to get to, not including like YouTube videos that are coming out every day, that I'll watch like 3 episodes and go, well, this is okay, but it's not really worth me staying involved with, like Ozark. everyone was raving. Ozark is a great show, great show. I watched the first 3 episodes, like, okay, it's okay, but it's just not worth it. So the one rare exception that I found nowadays is The Boys. Streamed the whole thing in 1 week and was like blown away by it. Really liked it. There are a couple other quality shows that I've seen of late, but this is by far the best. So I strongly recommend you check it out. It's literally about the best show I've seen in the last 5 years, I would say, easily. Totally first rate, hilarious, dark comedy, brilliant satire. If you like Deadpool, if you like Deadpool 2, this is right up your alley. You will love it. So that is my recommendation for streaming. First week of October. That is all, kids. Amen.